Heather McDonald. Juicy Scoop.
Well, I am here with Rori Sassoon, matchmaker to the rich, famous, and housewives of New York. We spoke over a year ago, I think, and I loved talking to you. And then we saw you again this past, what was it, Thursday, when thank God Real Housewives of New York came back, and you were meeting an old client named Ramona Singer for drinks. And we have lots of questions. First of all, how are you doing? How's everything going?
I mean, everything has been great. Thank God. I mean, throughout this quarantine, people still want to be in love and are still craving that human connection. So lucky us.
Okay, good. Now, for people that don't know, because if they missed the time you're on before, you have been happily married for the second time. And I remember you were right around how long I've been. So have you hit 20 years yet?
Heather, 20 years, June 18th, baby. We got it. We did it. We accomplished it.
Right. And so, so we see you with Ramona. Well, let's just get right into Ramona. Now, the guy you set her up with, and they did the flashback to the date, he was pretty awful, Rory. I was not into that guy at all. And
but that was the second guy.
Well, the first guy was Red. Who's the second guy? Red Scarf?
So the second guy, no, first guy was Red Scarf. That was more like, it wasn't really a setup. It was more like we were doing a whole speed dating event, and Carol Radswell, a friend of mine, created that experience for the girls.
Right.
So we knew Ramona would like eat him up alive, and she did, and she tried. And, you know, listen, they became friends. It really wasn't anything really romantic.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Ramona and I met in the previous season, she was telling me everything she wants. And, you know, she wanted, listen, at the end of the day, when you're a 63 or 62-year-old woman, let's put it out there, Heather. You know, it's not what we were when we were 23. It's a different ball game. You need to be able to I want to say the word settle, but you need to like compromise a little bit, and it has to be about a give and a take. So she wanted someone in their 50s. I gave her someone in their 50s. She wanted someone who really didn't have baggage. I gave her someone with no baggage. And at the end, it really was more of a lesson to show her what she really doesn't want.
Right.
That was not the end all. When you're going to fast forward, you're going to watch this season, I'm going to give Ramona Singer a beautiful, amazing, accomplished man on a silver platter.
Oh, all right. Okay, that's good. But I thought what you said, you know, of course that's true. And I think for any woman really past like the desire to have kids, like whether it's like late 40s or whatever, you kind of get to a place of what is it that you're looking for? You know, I mean, I think with women that are, you know, in their late 40s and they're divorced and, you know, they don't plan on having any more kids, then there's the kind of the question like, well, why would you get married again right away? Why don't you wait till your kids are out of school? I think there's like I have some friends whose kids are like, maybe the youngest is like 3-4 years out of, you know, from leaving the house. And I think she's probably found her soulmate. But I also think, why would you complicate moving in if financially you don't have to? Why don't you just let that boy finish his high school life without a new dad in the home? You know, if you guys are on the same page about still being together but raising your children, like I think that's kind of a responsible thing to do. What do you think about that in those situations?
So I really think it really depends on the situation and the circumstance. You know, in Ramona's case, let's use her as an example. Listen, she's a woman who is definitely independent. She's not coming with 4 kids. She has one daughter who's an adult already, who's lovely. And it's really time for Ramona. Like at the end of the day, women, we age. Like it is what it is. Like what you were at like 58, you're different at 63. And she doesn't really have time to waste in her mind, which I understand that. She looks incredible. We should all look like that at 63. I mean, God bless. But it's her turn. It's her time. I think that when love and the right love comes along, you have to learn how to make it work. There's never going to be a perfect time. Whether your kids finish school, not finish school, it depends on what's going on with the child.
Right. I agree. Yes. And with Ramona, I am oftentimes on Ramona's side because I think about if I was Ramona, if I, you know, suddenly found myself single with, which I wasn't a plan of mine. And now she's single. She got divorced from Mario, but she likes to be social. She likes to have fun. She likes to flirt just like she did probably in her 20s and early 30s before she met Mario. And she kind of steps right back into that world. And she wants to go to the bar where the hot guys are. She doesn't want to sit at the boring dinner with Tinsley and the other girls at the Rhode Island place. And it seems like throughout the seasons, the girls get very upset. They think she's very rude and everything. Why can't they just accept that she wants to flirt and get some numbers and have some dates lined up, and they can all talk to her at brunch the next day? Why is everyone such a cock blocker to Ramona?
You're 100% right. I mean, I think that there's also there's a little bit of a balance going on. Meaning, I think Ramona is a beautiful woman, and I think that she should definitely go out there and have fun. If you notice in her personality, she's pretty open about certain things, but when it comes to her dating life, she's not. She's always sneaking out to go on a date, not to tell people like that she's dating someone. You would have no idea. The girl could be having a ring on her finger tomorrow. And you'd be like, who the hell are you dating? Because she's learned her lesson that, listen, being a reality TV star, when you sign up for that, Heather, and you know this, you're signing up to be on page 6. And a lot of the guys that Ramona wants to date do not want to be on page 6.
Right.
She wants a billionaire hedge fund. She wants the guy who, values his privacy. He doesn't need to ride on her coattails.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, and I've always said this about all female reality stars, whether it's the Vanderpump girls at that, early 30s age to early 60s Ramona. Yeah, I think, if she was a private person and not on TV, but running around in these same Hampton yacht Aspen circles, I think that she would have found somebody by now that would have been a match, that would have been really happy to have a gorgeous, fun girl on his arm that knows all the same people, that are at the same economic level and can roll and have mutual people. Because it seems to me when I see like these really rich billionaire men, they don't, I mean, of course some do, but it seems like they kind of go, if they're on the second or third wife, they go for the ex of a former billionaire themselves. It seems like they run in the same circles. Like they want an attractive girl, but they don't necessarily want a 25-year-old girl that can, screw them all night. They want the 45-year-old girl that looks like she's 25, that has some class and couth and knows how to act at these events and knows these other people.
Right. Listen, Ramona also definitely frequents like a very jet set crowd. And I get it and I understand it. But sometimes when you're very vocal about that, it's a turnoff.
Yes.
And it is a turnoff to men. It really is like, want that, crave that, be in that circle, but don't vocalize it. It's classier when you actually don't say anything about that. She had expressed on, this episode this past week on Thursday that she really wanted a best friend because I was very real with her. Ramona, you want love or you want money? And she's like, I want a best friend. Well, do you want a best friend who also is not on your financial level? And everything that came out of her mouth, not so much. And I say that with all the respect in the world. Heather, if I'm 47, if I was a single woman today, what would I want? I definitely want someone who could sustain a similar lifestyle to me. Why would I want to go down the ladder? I don't.
Right.
And rightfully, neither does she. And I think most women would agree with us.
Or you just want like the really hot guy that's like 10 years younger that can bone you all the time. And
I call that the slutty years. If you want to go back to the slutty years, then do you. Listen, whatever makes you happy.
But when you said, what was that expression that reminds me? It's Dorinda says, something yells, wealth whispers. What is that?
And by the way,
what is that? What's the first part of that though?
I know what you're talking about, and it was such a good quote.
Yeah.
But it's true because I know one of the reasons what I loved about my husband was humility. I love when a man has a quiet confidence. He does not need to show off. He does not need to speak about it. And by the way, those are the guys who really have the money, not the ones going, showing off about it.
Right. And I guess that kind of goes the same as for the women, too. But that's what's sort of a bummer when you are a bigger personality. It like goes back to that book, The Rules. Like people talk, it's kind of come up with my juicy scoopers because I've talked about it, and so some people found it, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is so archaic." It's like down to like, don't talk so much, don't be the center of attention. Like it almost feels like you're reading like a 1950s thing, and it's like, well, what are we supposed to be ourselves? But I do think that you got to play a game a little bit, huh?
You have to flirt. You have to do the dance a little bit. Like I always say, like unpeel the onion. Like a man also loves when he gets to know a woman little by little by little. It's like having sex on the first date. Hello, if you want a phone call in the morning, just don't do that. Because he's probably thinking she's screwing everything and anything.
Right.
Like there's no earning it there.
Yes. And I do think that's like, yeah, you're right. Like save a little bit. I think so many times people go on a first date and they're like, oh, I guess I'm going to tell my life story again. It's like, well, maybe just tell the first chapter, or maybe tell a middle chapter, or maybe you could just give a little bit and really save your juiciest parts of your life for like when someone really deserves it and is more your boyfriend.
We need a little mystery.
Right.
Men love a little mystery. Think about it. What turns us on as women? We love a guy who's a little bit mysterious. I mean, that to me totally like rocks my world. I'm into that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, so, all right. Okay. You said you found somebody great for her. What did you think of when you heard Dorinda and John broke up? As a matchmaker, do you think they were ever a good match?
Thrilled.
Thrilled that they broke up.
Yes. Okay. My opinion, Dorinda is class. Okay. I really do think she came from, like, she had this wonderful marriage with Richard, and, they dove into that, and we saw that previous seasons, and now she's kind of like alone and dealing with it. And she's sad about that. And I understand that it's so easy when you've had someone in your life for so long, and then all of a sudden they just like, they die on you. Like, it's like that you feel angry, you feel upset about that. And I feel like John, from what she had said, is the complete opposite of her husband. But you know what? It's somebody who was there for her. And, this was not something she was expecting. And I think that the loneliness was really difficult. And maybe he was like, she had chocolate, now she was going for vanilla. Right. It was just like a different personality altogether. And it's hard to be alone. But I think that she's coming into her own now. And I think that she is a confident, beautiful woman. And you know what? I'm so happy that she broke up this relationship, because Dorinda is more class and John is more crass.
Oh, okay. Well, so would you ever set up John with one of your clients? Do you think is there a woman that you think you could come across that might be a good match for a better match for John?
Definitely. So I think that I'm a big believer is that, especially I think he's a nice person. I mean, I don't have anything against him. I've met him actually a couple of times, and he's been nothing but very sweet. I think there's a cover for every pot and a pot for every cover. I mean, it sounds very cliche, but it's true. And I think that Dorinda also is a big personality. I think that you saw that clashing, and I think that John would probably do better with someone who would be not as much of a personality, not as strong of a person, not a weakling by any means, but someone where he was the man. And I think that Dorinda, where you saw previous episodes where she reamed him out. I mean, like, I was scared of her, and as a man, that must not feel good either.
And I think when she was just like getting depressed, when she was so like weird and mean to Tinsley, and it really came out because she had to deal with, a lot of insurance and rebuilding of a Berkshire house. And I know people at home are thinking, oh my God, you have so much money. Why should you have any problems? But that's where the expression more money, more problems come from. It wasn't the expression, it was the rap song, but more money, more problems. I mean, you have this big house that's old, that needs to be, even if you wanted to sell it, you still have to fix this mess. And maybe you don't want to sell it because there's this history there. And then you have no person that I think in the past with her two previous husbands, they would know who to call and do. They would make sure that the contractor wasn't screwing them, all this stuff. And her boyfriend at the time, John, is just a guy that's, never raised children, never been married, has had a bachelor apartment with a doorman. So he's never dealt with this kind of stuff. And I think it like pissed her off. It was like she was pissed that, she's now in mid 50s having to deal with all this shit by herself. And she's like, why did I get dealt this deck of cards? Like, I'm pissed. And I think that's where, for some reason, like she was sort of putting her anger towards Tinsley, like because Tinsley was about to start a whole new life with someone that could provide all that and be that,
I
partner.
have to tell you, I definitely have a very strong opinion about this,
Please
because I've been watching.
Yeah.
And I have to say that I really, really felt like Dorinda was not herself. I wonder if I had a conversation with her, if she felt like she regretted the way she treated her. Dorinda did, who I love, and I've always loved Dorinda every season. I'm like, oh, finally, someone who has their head on straight. But I felt like in this current situation, it came out as a bully. It came out as angry. Like she really wasn't being herself. She was so angry about all the things that she lost in her life. Listen, good for Tinsley, whether their relationship was on and off and off and on, who gives a damn?
Right.
She's not a daughter. Like whatever it is. I mean, you guys are friends, but let her do her. And she was getting her fairy tale. She was getting her happy ending. And I have to say, I understand that a lot of the beef was, we're on a reality show. We put our life out there. Tinsley was being a liar and really not saying anything. But maybe she had an arrangement with Scott where he said, honey, if you want this relationship to work, I don't want to be on this show. I don't want to be on Page 6. So and that's why kudos to her, as with Bethany, that the Real Housewives was a great run for them, but they picked their personal life over the show. And that's why they're happy today.
And I think that was very smart on both of their parts, 100%.
Genius.
I don't think Bethany finally found a guy that worked for her. Her daughter's getting older. She doesn't need it. I think, yes. And then if she wants to go back 5 years from now, who knows, or who cares? But yeah, I definitely thought that was a good move for Bethany too. Now, did you know Elise in your circles? What do you think of Elise, the new addition?
It was actually funny because the original man that I wanted to set Ramona up with, Elise happened to be friendly with him and reached out to him on the same day, literally like an hour apart from each other, because we thought it would make great TV as well. And we thought Ramona would really go for this guy. It was like the perfect age, the guy he's successful, handsome, all the stuff Ramona wants. And he's in finance, or was in finance, I should say. And he said to me, Rori, what, I don't really think this would be a good look for me. And I was like, listen, I understand. He goes, Elise approached me also. It's funny. And I said, well, I guess Elise and I, maybe our great minds think alike. We thought he would be perfect. But unfortunately, he declined because of the whole, reality TV thing.
And so now Elise, she found a great second husband too, right?
So that's what I heard. They didn't really get into it about her personal life. You just see all these Real Housewives who are not housewives of New York. Okay. We didn't really get into what her love life was all about.
Oh, okay. So, well, that was nice that she was trying to find Ramona a dude too. So now do you think, now I don't know what her situation is now, but do you think that this guy would ever come around again and possibly go on a date with Ramona, not on camera?
Yes. Because we've been in touch, and, I know that they have been texting and I think seeing each other back and forth.
Oh,
I don't know how
juicy.
intense it is.
Juicy.
Listen,
Okay.
And he's a great guy, and I can't wait for you guys to all see the date, because she actually has a great time.
Wait, but this is a different guy though. The one that you set her up was different.
This is the date. Right, but this is the guy that I'm setting her up with this season.
Oh, okay. But the other one is waiting in the wings. Okay. And so now, even though Ramona looks and is great and everything, was it hard? Is that a problem when you say, I have a client who's 63, even though she looks like she's 50?
So, okay. It's a problem if you want it to be a problem. What do I mean by that? You have to know your customer. You have to know. If I have some men that love to date women their age, especially when they look like Ramona, they're thrilled. It's like, oh my God, we both have grandchildren, we have older kids. I don't have to worry about the girl's 25, she has like young kids. I don't have to deal with that. And like you said, I can bring her around. She's a woman who has class. She's going to know how to travel with me, go with me, do with me. It's like, we don't have to worry. We're on the same page. Mm-hmm. So I have some men that are like that. But a lot of other men, maybe that Ramona would want to be with, are the ones looking for the 40-year-olds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because I would see that, especially it's like, I do think it's like maybe there's a pattern with guys where, they have their first wife, they have their kids. Then they kind of have their midlife crisis, and they go for the girl that's 15, 20 years younger than them. And then it seems when they do get closer to like, mid 50s, 60s, they're like, I would like a girl that knows what references I'm referring to and music.
Or I want to know that the Beatles was a thing when I was young.
Yeah, cool. Like they actually know what we're talking. Yeah, we actually have stuff to talk about because we both lived through it.
It's stuff in common.
And they're, so, and do they lose their I guess too, guys kind of lose their horniness, don't they, to an extent?
I mean, listen, my husband's 68. I hope not.
No, okay, but I just thought maybe not horny, not like they don't want to screw all the time, but maybe that's not like, the thing that's driving the romance as much as it might have been when he was 45.
Listen, I'm sure different people, different testosterone levels, as we'd like to call it. But I think it's also how happy they are in their relationship. It to me, like, sex is very important. I always say a marriage is cemented in bed. At the end of the day, when you know that you have that attraction and the foundation started, of course, with respect and love and all that stuff. But let's be real. We human beings we have animalistic tendencies. And we always need to create new ways to reinvent our sex life so that we have one
right
when we're married for 20 to 30 years.
So
I think it's the person.
Okay, so I have some questions from some juicy scoopers. So she said this girl is 39. She's never been married. She's single. She has no kids, but she'd like to. What is your tips for someone like that in finding someone?
Well, so she needs to think of, like, I'm 39. No matter what, I froze my eggs. I want to have a baby. Do I want to do this with a partner, or do I want to do this alone no matter what happens? Because I have some clients that also said, you know what, they gave themselves a time limit and said, by 42, I don't have the guy, I want the baby. And they went and they had the baby, and then the guy came. And that was that. So it really depends on, like, you have to make yourself happy. And if you're a person, as a woman, as a mother that wants to nurture and have a child, then if you can afford to do that and you want to do that and you're all in, then you should make yourself happy and do that and have somebody to love.
Yeah, I agree. And what is so let's talk a little bit. Oh, wait, let's see. Have you ever tried to set Sonia up?
I have never actually tried to set Sonia up. Sonia and I can't have a serious conversation with Sonia. Whenever I speak to her, it's always been, she's been a little bit like all over the place. I mean, she's a sweetheart and all, and you'll actually see going forward in this season, we do have a conversation because we were waiting for Ramona to have drinks. So she kind of told me what she's looking for and what she wanted.
And what does she want?
It's interesting because as much as we've seen in previous seasons, Sonia with the 24-year-old, Sonia with the 22-year-old, that's not really what Sonia wants. I think that Sonia needed to work on Sonia to really be like, you know what, I really want to be with a man who's mature, who's successful. Look, she married a man who is way much older than her, that they have a daughter with.
Right.
And I think that age appropriate for her, I don't think she'd have a problem dating someone who is like in their late 60s, maybe 70, in great shape, great guy, successful, that she could really respect and admire. That would be amazing.
Yeah. But, it's like, I think she's another one too, that like, I think she had that life. And then when that life was gone, even though she's, has a life that's very enviable to a lot of people, she's a TV star, she's funny, she's, recognizable, she's got the fame, she still has money. When you see her, and she expresses herself on the show, she's like, fuck, I would go back to that. Why did I fuck it up? I feel like she has a feeling like she screwed it up. She could have stayed the Morgan. She could have, had the private yacht, it continued this life that she would have chosen over her current one, is what I think as a viewer.
So I think a lot of times, being in that scenario, you are correct. If Sonia had a crystal ball to see what her life would have been like in the future, yes, I think you're right. I think she probably would have stayed. She never got over. And it's funny because I've watched in previous episodes as being in quarantine. I went all the way back to season 1 and how Bethany reamed her out and said, there's no more John. There's no more you partying with Madonna. There's no more private yachts and private jets. Get fucking over it. Over it. And it's very hard when someone's so, like you said, stuck in their life and they regret so much what they did. So that you're right. Like, I think that if she would have stayed in that life, she would have maybe been happier if she would have knew what the future, held for her. Although I don't give up on Sonia yet. She's still a young, beautiful woman. And I think she has a good heart of gold. You can definitely, see that. And I hope that she finds her Prince Charming because, she's a good egg and she deserves it.
Yeah, I think I think she has moments where she has a lot of regret because I think at the time that she was living that life, she realizes now she didn't appreciate it the way she should. That it was so fabulous that, they were a family unit. Right? Yeah, they were a family and all that. So it is interesting to watch that. Let's see. Okay, so, do you have any advice for plus size clients to filter out assholes? That's a direct quote question, which I thought was pretty great.
You want to know something? It's so interesting because as the culture has changed when it comes to women and what men perceive beautiful and sexy. I love the J-Los of the world. I love the Beyoncés. I love the Kim Kardashians because the hanger is not really what men want these days. They want something to grab onto. They want someone that's voluptuous. So I think that a woman like that, if she's happy and she's confident, whatever size she is, that girl should work it and own it because there's going to be a man that's going to love her for who she is and what she is and just have something amazing to grab onto. How's that?
I think it's throughout life, you've always seen that girl like in high school or college that wasn't that cute. Maybe, didn't have the perfect face, didn't have the perfect body, but just guys would just be falling at her feet. And you'd kind of go, well, this woman isn't, Cindy Crawford. Like, how is this happening? She what?
Great personality.
And I just think that confidence. It's like the confidence.
Is sexy.
And it's hard
to. Sexy. There's sex appeal.
And it is really hard to have. You can't just tell someone, be confident, because it is those little voices in your head that made you probably not as confident as you should. But the voice in the head that I wish I would have had, that I still have to remind myself is like, why not you? Whenever I heard what people say, it's like, why not? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you be the one that was chosen for the job? Why wouldn't it be the one that, that the guy wants to date, that you walk into the room and it's like, you just have to tell yourself all the time, like, why not me? Why not me? There's no reason. Like, of course it could be you for anything, whatever you're going for, whether it's love or wealth or a career or a job. It's like, that's the thing everyone should tell themselves when they wake up in the morning. Like, I have just as good of a chance as anybody else. So, like, why not go for it?
I love that advice. And you have to be in it to win it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I tell my clients daily. Everybody wants to be with a happy person. One of my famous quotes are, happy attracts happy. I know that if I'm meeting a guy and if I was single, or even when I'm meeting a friend for the first time or a client, I love when someone's upbeat and they exude an energy. There's an energy. You don't have to be at 47, it's different. I'm not looking for the most gorgeous guy in the room. I want a presence. I want charismatic. I want charming. To me, that's sexy. For a guy who's going to be so hung up on his own looks and has his six-pack, you know what? I want to be the queen.
And
No, thanks.
so what are some tips now? Now, are people meeting at all in person yet? Like, what's the rules of matching people during quarantine?
So it's so interesting because so many people have asked me this, like, oh my God, how's your business doing? What's going on? People can't have to social distance. How are they dating? It was an amazing opportunity that the silver lining for us within the corona pandemic, which is of course horrible, but this is the silver lining for Platinum Pa, is that we were able to go digital, meaning we created a part of the business called the Pair Club. And the Pair Club is a lot less expensive because we are introducing people via FaceTime or Zoom or Skype, whatever it is. And, we vet them. So I meet everybody on FaceTime. I speak to them. I talk to them. I vet them. I see what they're looking for, their do's, their don'ts, their deal breakers, all that stuff. And we then are able to match them with members of the Pair Club. So it's not the Platinum, part of the business. It's the Pair Club, which is, it guarantees you 6 dates, 6 introductions in a period of 3 months. So that's 2 dates a month for $500.
Oh, great. And then and is it people that, because it's digital, do you still keep it to a location or it can be, further away?
It can be further away. It doesn't really matter. Like I've introduced someone, not that this is so super far, but like someone who's in the Hamptons to someone who's in Miami. I mean, You can't just like pick up and say, hey, I'm going to see you right now. But it's amazing because one of my clients who is really like a very visual type of guy, like the looks play a huge role.
Okay.
So he said to me, oh, you set me up with a girl. I don't know, talking about plus size, she's a little bit more voluptuous. He goes, that's not my usual type. I go, sweetheart, the type didn't work. You need to listen to me. What are you losing? You're not even going out on a date with somebody. You're not even buying her a drink. You're meeting her on FaceTime. P.S. They're still seeing each other. It's 3 months later. Now that they can go out and at least on the Jersey Shore, have a drink at, outside. So they've been seeing each other. So you just never know.
That's great. And this, I thought, I've never heard this, but I love this expression and I'm going to steal it for myself. But someone asked, everyone talks about red flags. What are some green flags that a guy can show you that should register in your brain? Like, this is a good sign.
Okay. I love that question, by the way.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to steal that too, Heather.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Hey, I didn't come up with it. Yeah.
So a green flag to me is somebody who actually has a word. So if, let's say, they ask you out on a date and they want to pick you up Monday night at 8:00, I think that to follow up that morning and saying, hey, listen, this is what I'm thinking. Would you like this kind of cuisine? I'm making a reservation. I just want to confirm with you. So the person's not thinking, I'm going to work. Am I getting dressed for a date? Am I not? You know what I'm saying? Like, at least have the courtesy to be like, confirm it. It's set in stone. We're meeting tonight at 8:00. So I love that. I love when somebody's on time. Okay. And, if they say they're going to do it, they're going to do it. And I love when they said they had a great time and they want to see you again, they really freaking mean it. They do want to see you again and they follow up with you.
What are some tips for women out there and guys that are out there looking to date? What are the biggest mistakes someone can make or the things they should do during this time?
I think that you should really, during this time, since we had this quarantine situation and we were able to really be by ourselves, it's an important time to be able to reflect on things that we really don't want in our life and the things that will help us identify the things that we do. I'm a very big believer of being the person you want to date. Heather, if you're somebody and you're looking for a relationship and you have this whole checklist and you have a type and you want someone from an Ivy League school, well, you know what? You better be all those things. If you want someone in good shape, you should be in good shape. If you want someone educated, you should be educated. If you want someone who's successful, well, you know what? You should be successful. So the expectation should match.
That's great. And then what's the biggest, that's a good thing to do. Is there any common mistake that you see happening that might be a simple fix for someone in the dating world?
Absolutely. I think that sometimes people always say, he's not my type. She's not my type. Well, you know what? You never met the person. Chemistry is chemistry. Someone on paper can be completely your type, but when they open up their mouth, it's like, oh my God, they're giving me a headache. Or, they might look great on paper, but at the end of the day, like, we have nothing in common as our value system.
Right.
Not about all the other superficial stuff. So if someone is willing to set you up and you trust that person, go for it. Who knows? You might end up being the love of your life.
And now in this day and age, obviously, it's very tempting to, have a date with someone, and before you go on the date, whether it's, FaceTime or whatever, to do 2 hours of research on them from Google to Facebook to going back 3 years to see the girl that he took to a barbecue in September of 2015. And does she look like you? She's blonde and I'm brunette, so this probably won't even work out. What do you say to how much research should someone do?
You know what, Heather? Once you go down the Google rabbit hole, it's an endless, bottomless pit, okay? Which can obviously end in disaster. You already think you know the person. You're already judging them. You've prejudged them before you went on the date. Don't do it. As long as the person's not, a serial killer or went to jail for, something horrible, don't do it. Really meet the person for face value. And listen, if you want to get to know them, listen, every relationship that's successful is built on trust. You want to be able to start trusting that person. Otherwise, you have nowhere to go from there.
Right. And with your business, you do that initial background check to make sure that you aren't setting them up with a dirty John or whatever. So at least they know that part of it,
Yeah. So a lot of times what we do is, it's funny because when we started this business, we really wanted to do deep dive background checks, and it became very complicated. So a lot of times, whether my partner who's a doctor who does executive life coaching, a lot of our clients come from his clientele. So he really does know them pretty well. And word of mouth is huge, which is always a great thing because there's always accountability. So you always know somebody who came from somebody. Majority of the time, and I'd say probably 85% of the time, than people who just really come off the street. It's not that kind of business.
Right. Well, great. Well, tell everybody where they can find you and how they can join all these different programs that you have going on.
So you can find me at Platinum, PLATINUM, POIRE.com. And the Instagram handle is Rori, RORI, Sassoon, SASSOON.
Oh, one more question. Is there any relation to Vidal Sassoon?
I get that question all the time, especially when I used to book a restaurant reservation at Barney's.
Yeah.
But no, there really is no relationship.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, great. Thank you so much, Rori. This was fun. And we look forward to seeing you. So we see you later on the season, or we just see your setup later?
Well, you see my setup, and then they had me film, another scene with Ramona and Sonia.
Okay, great. All right. Well, we're excited. Loving the show, and take care.
Thank you. Bye.